Last week, the NTSB held hearings into Boeing's MED door plug blowout. So today, we're going to look at some of the video and the transcripts. And we're going to learn how to fail in 10 easy lessons. So let's get to it. This is a timeline put out by Boeing. The request to work the rivets was put out on day 1. On day 6, the initial rework was done. Subsequently, on day 6, not satisfied with the reworked rivets, Boeing requests Spirit to rework them again. Surprisingly, on day 8, Spirit declares, nope, the rivets are acceptable as they are. On day 11, Boeing requests a rework a second time. Day 18, the rework begins. Day 19, final day, the rivets are replaced. They went from a day 1 problem to a final day solution. It should have never gone that far, pushing, and for lack of a better term, the out-of-sequence work further and further down the line. Day 15. The rivets have been reworked once, and now Boeing has determined the plug needs to be removed. Did they not remove the plug for the rework on day 6? And if so, why reinstall it if they know the work has to be redone? You don't reinstall something if there's more work that has to be done in that area.
Acronym SAT that we use for Shipside Action Tracker. It is a communication tool used to let people know when the floor needs help or needs something.
So Boeing determines the plug needs removal on the 15th day of the timeline that they put out. In the SAT log states that Spirit determines that the plug needs to be removed. Day 17, the line side coordinator and a senior manager work with a door team manager to get the plug opened, who then, I assume, got a door team member to open the plug. Now, here's where the SAT log and the testimony don't align. So the SAT states that Spirit was notified that the plug was being opened. But testimony from Spirit shows that they had to keep checking the aircraft to determine and verify when the plug is opened. I just don't know how much more convoluted and how many more systems and people you get involved to get one door open so that you can do the work.
Boeing's initial review and reviews since have determined you've not found any paperwork indicating that this door was authorized to be opened and then authorized to be closed. Is that correct?
We've not found any paperwork. That is correct.
Some things you shouldn't just have to explain to anybody. It's just common sense. And failure to document your maintenance is one of those things. A failure to document your maintenance could mean injury or death to personnel, employees, customers, hell, just people on the ground going about their lives.
Whether the door plug is just open where it goes out, 15 degrees on the lanyard, or if it's laid all the way out and removed, is a removal required?
Yes,
And why is that?
because even to open it a little bit, bolts must be removed from the plug.
All 4, correct?
I believe so.
Yes.
They can't find the paperwork because they never generated the paperwork. Looking at the SAT log, senior manager worked with door crew manager to determine if the door can just be opened or if it needs removal. If removal needed, a removal needs to be written first. They don't understand their own procedure, the one that she just outlined. They never generated the removal paperwork. On the Boeing side, you have the manager, the line side coordinator, the door team manager, the door team lead, the door team mechanic, the QA inspector, and a move crew member. On the Spirit side, you have the manager, the supervisor, the mechanic, and a QA inspector. That's 11 people to remove and replace 5 rivets. All we really know is one document was created, the NCR, that covers the 5 damaged rivets. And that would be okay if everything that went along with replacing those 5 damaged rivets were written into that NCR as the job was being performed. We know that initially the work was done, and then QA came back and removed the stamp, Spirit's stamp. The door had to be removed or opened or re-removed or opened because it was removed at the end of the flow, but was it removed at the beginning of the flow? We don't know that. We don't know it was documented at all. The rivets had to be removed and replaced, and then they had to be removed and replaced a second time. There was a seal that was partially displaced. The door was opened. The insulation inside of the aircraft was displaced. The interior panel was removed. The seats were not locked down when all the rest of the seats were locked down. So all of these items that go with the door removal and rivet replacement should have been documented somewhere, not just on paperwork that already existed and they just didn't close out, because all of these things don't talk to each other. They don't look at each other. If I'm closing one thing, I don't know why it was left open, but if it's all on the NCR, now I know everything here is related to that NCR. I don't know why they don't do it that way. I don't know why they don't document the maintenance they're doing. But clearly, they have a problem.
This is a point to open up into what we believe happened that evening. And that is when an airplane prepares to roll out of our factory, we call them the move crew. I believe their team name is the aviators, but we call them the move crew. Comes in and prepares an aircraft to move outside. Their fundamental job is to prepare it for the elements, to close the doors, to close the engine cowls, protect it if there's an open space on the airplane, protect it from the elements. And in this case, the move crew says that they believe that they pushed the door to, not intending to firmly reinstall it, but simply to prepare the airplane to be ready to move outside.
A member of the move crew temporarily installed the door. They didn't go try to find the paperwork that shows that the door was opened or the plug was opened so that they can make an annotation to say that it was temporarily installed. They didn't flag the plug. There was no indication whatsoever that they temporarily installed it. This is the move crew from her statement, what she believes, when they've also stated the door crew is the only crew that is supposed to open and close the doors and the plugs. At this point, the rivets are installed. QA has bought the repair back. The plug seal has to be reinstalled. There's no documentation showing that it was ever removed. So, was it bought back? There was no plug removal documentation, so we know that's not going to be bought back. The plug is temporarily installed. They didn't document that. someone now needs to install the displaced insulation. They need to install the interior door panel. They need the seats to be installed because they weren't installed, so they can have access to everything. Did anyone verify was all the prior work complete, or why the area was left open? Clearly not. When an area has been left open, clearly for maintenance, it should be mandatory to visually inspect that area prior to closing anything. You want to verify that all the work's complete, no tools have been left behind, no debris has been left there. You want to get a QA buyback to close that area. Only then is it permissible to start closing the area. The question is, and I think the answer is clear also, did the person closing that area do a visual inspection prior to closing it? And clearly the answer is no. The common thread through most of this is documentation. There also needs to be some sort of follow-up. Don't just assume somebody else is going to take care of it. Additionally, there needs to be QA involvement from open to close, especially when there's out of sequence or out of the ordinary work. By doing this, you have two sets of eyes looking at the same thing in different ways. But let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, hit the notification, and thanks for watching. Peace out.